Hello, this is Taha.
This is Anaina,
This is Movie Masala.
and we're here to yap at you about films we watched recently.
And today we're doing Sitaare Zameen Par.
ये क्या है?
आप कोच बहुत अच्छे हो,
क्या बात हो गई? चक्कर वक्कर चल रहा है क्या तेरा?
लेकिन आदमी सुअर
So, this is basically Amir Khan's new-ish film, as in it just came out a few weeks ago. It is directed by R.S. Prasna. It is technically a remake of a Spanish film called Champions, which is based on a real-life story. But it is also very much a spiritual successor to Taare Zameen Par, which is Amir Khan's previous film, which came out around 20-ish years ago, which was about this kid with dyslexia and him learning that how he can still be himself and Amir Khan helping him discover who he is.
I just like to point out that film still breaks many people's hearts. Like, one of my closest friends when I was a kid is absolutely just sobs every time they watch that film. And I'm just like, yeah, that makes sense. So I was really happy to see that it was getting like a, spiritual reworking.
Yeah, I'm firstly happy this is not a sequel. It's much more of a I'm trying to see another like neurodivergent people and trying to make a film around that. That's why it's a spiritual successor. And also, that's like one of my mom's favorite films. Taare Zameen Par, like she loves that film and cannot watch it because Taare Zameen Par just makes her absolutely cry. Anytime she goes, like whenever they leave him at the boarding school, I just cannot handle it.
Exactly. It's like a film that almost every person who's like watched it will be like, that film traumatized me, but it's the best thing in the world. Which is like, it's great.
Yeah. So this film like immediately starts, right? And you have Amir Khan being such a dick. And I think that's a great way to center this film because what it does basically, again, to expand on the premise, Amir Khan's character is this very hot-headed coach who, as punishment for like an outburst during a match, basically has to coach a team of people with disabilities, ranging from stuff like Down syndrome to autism and stuff like that. And basically, through that, he learns how to be a better person. And I think Amir Khan's the choice of his character in this film, he plays Gulshan,
Mm-hmm.
right? Aurora. And I think what his character does is because he's such a dick, he's so hateable. When he specifically like makes comments which are very bad, like calls these people crazy, calls them like not normal and stuff like that. Firstly, he's not the good guy, so it immediately doesn't make what he's doing the right thing to do,
Yeah.
right? And secondly, and I'll keep coming back to this a few times, what I think it does is because he's such an asshole, he has that journey to grow. And because him being like the worst, he's allowed to ask questions or say things which normally would be like, oh, you probably shouldn't. Which even like an average population would know that, okay, this is not the words we use anymore. This is not how we treat people, like,
Sure.
Whatever. But because he's him, he does these things. So you are specifically talking down to everyone because people who already know better don't need to be taught this, right? But it is specifically targeting people who might not know better.
Sure.
And him
Yeah.
saying all of these things allows the conversation to go there and tackle these things in a way that makes narrative sense.
Yeah. The thing I'm interested about is like there are a lot of like hot-headed coach gets punished or has to like coach a team of like the most irregular, and I say irregular in the sense of like uncommon faces or uncommon like group of people who band together and the coach is meant to bring them together. And the story, and often that group of people tends to be those who are like most disenfranchised within Indian society. But the story always tends to be more about the coach than the people. So I'm really interested to kind of know whether this film does that balance of like actually focusing on the disabled people while also, showing that journey as well.
Yeah, okay. Firstly, I do think Amir Khan is still the main character of this film. Like Goshen still very much is that, but it is through his perspective that you are meeting and understanding these people, right? But I don't think it ever makes these people feel like they're not fully real people who live real lives,
Mm-hmm.
right? like it's so stupid that you have to say it, but great thing that all of the people who play people with disabilities who have like neurodivergent conditions, they're actually cast played by people who have those conditions. So a
No,
non-autistic person is not playing an autistic person, which is great.
it's a first for Bollywood.
So I think it's great. But even things where you see them, these people have jobs outside of the basketball thing they do. You see these people have family lives. You see like people around them. So obviously it doesn't have the time necessary and like dedicate to like they all like 11, 10 people and exploring them individually. But it does give everyone something that makes them have their own moment, more or less.
Sure.
And I think that does make them feel like grounded people. Now, the thing is, there was a point where I was like, I don't know if that joke was in the best taste.
Mm,
But then again, I also am sympathetic to the argument that it would be weird to do a primarily comedy film and never have fun with the vast majority of the cast who are playing these disabled people.
sure.
But also having jokes on them, you're also normalizing their conditions and whatever they're going through as well. You can very much argue on how much a joke lands versus like the quality and like whatever of it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it should be outside the norm to not make jokes based on them or like jokes on how they are reacting. It's just that, like, again, I'm not going to argue for basically how if every joke works or if every joke is the best joke to be or isn't the best taste.
Sure. Okay. I mean, I guess for me it would depend on whether those jokes were coming from, firstly, a good place, and secondly, from the disabled people themselves. I think that's what would make the difference.
100%, I see that. And I think a lot of the jokes are coming from them, especially in the latter half. I think in the starting half, it is much more sometimes at their expense, which did like rub me a bit the wrong way. But I feel what you would have a very hard time arguing is this film is not coming from a good place. It's not actively trying to showcase these people as people who exist in our society, who should be integrated in our society. It's also like very specific on not to look down at them.
Sure, it's not bad faith.
Yeah, it's not bad faith. It's not saying that these are people that should be made fun of. It is, I would argue, actively being like these people are taken advantage of a lot of the time, face difficult hardship. It is also highlighting all of those aspects. And again, I think the argument that this film like does everything does in good faith is very strong based on like, again, how it tackles those things and how it works through them. So I think there's that as well. There's also this C plot almost, I think, which is about Gulshan and Sunita. Sunita is played by Janila D'Souza, who is basically Amir Khan's wife in this film, or like they're kind of separated and they're kind of like figuring this out. And this also kind of helps them bring their marriage together in some way.
Sure.
It basically helps Amir Khan express himself. The reason there's also a separation is because Sunita wants a child and he just feels like he's not going to be a good dad because he doesn't have a good dad to look up to. And so this film is also him learning how to be a better parent caregiver. Although that plot is never resolved, like there's no conversation at the end that comes back to this. So it's just kind of left. And it's not like this film didn't have the time for it. So, but anyways, aside from that, it's a well-made film. It's an easy crowd pleaser because it is very heartwarming. It's about a sports film. So even it's very easy to get swept up in when like the whole sports of it all. I think the characters, like they never feel specifically shallow in a way that they're being overlooked. Even at moments where sometimes it's weaker, it doesn't feel like it's looking down on them.
Okay.
It just feels like, okay, that maybe could have been written better in certain aspects or certain things like that. Right?
Sure.
This film, it's good recommendation, honestly. I think it also is very important to recognize the audience this is speaking to.
Yeah, with any Bollywood film, it is always important to remember what audience it is speaking to. And this film has not been smooth to release. It faced a bunch of like censor cuts or like censor changes from the Indian like censor board, which I think is just the most stupid thing on the planet.
I genuinely cannot tell you what is in this film is just genuinely needs censorship.
I'm not going to get into it. But yeah, I mean, from what I've heard, I think it's a good entryway point into the mass public's, realm of cinema.
Yeah, 100%. And it is because I think the sports narrative also helps because again, firstly, I think the Amir Khan and him being such a dick helps the film because it allows people who might even be coming at genuinely from that perspective and not think anything wrong of them to associate with the lead and then also see why the lead is wrong to like reflect on themselves and why they might be wrong.
Responsible filmmaking.
Yeah. And B, it is because it centers these group of individuals, these neurodivergent, disabled individuals, as like the winning team. You are rooting for them. So when bad things happen to them, you feel bad for them. It makes you feel like you're with them, which helps again to see how these people are easily disenfranchised. They do have a harder time on the bus. And that is because of a reason of, yeah, sometimes they might not be quote unquote well behaved. And certain times they do have other things that they are not able to do properly. But again, it shows you why they need alternatives, not why they are the problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it always makes a case for them on their behalf. Yeah, I think it does make you cry basically at the very end when it is able to do all of that successfully.
Fair. Yeah. So what I'm getting is it's a good film that may need a little bit of more polishing or refinement, but otherwise like a good, well-made film that is, responsible in the message it is giving.
100%. I think it's a good film where some of the jokes might not land or some of the jokes are not the best written, but it's a solid recommendation. And I think my mom would love this.
Thank God.
So yeah, those are our thoughts. Thank you for tuning in. This podcast is produced solely by us with musical assets from Pixabay. If you enjoyed this, please do share it. See you again next time.
Bye-bye.